I'm back. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. I want to talk to you today about my first year of teaching. I've been teaching now for 11 years. It'll be my 12th year of teaching next year, which is crazy. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. And so my first year of teaching, I started teaching in Texas, where I'm from. And I had a class, very small size class. I had 18 kids, which was awesome for your first year. To have that many kids was a blessing. But I had 17 boys. Just let that sink in. 17 boys, and I had one girl in my classroom. And it was organized chaos. Basically, we just really worked hard to survive the end of the day. With 17 boys, I felt like I had to do a lot of activities that involved exercise and energy, and were quick and fast-paced because they were 5-year-old boys, and there were so many of them. And I just remember like frantically running around all the time and then crying a lot because I was so exhausted with dealing with 17 boys. I can't even remember all the details of my first year because it flew by, but the thing that sticks in my head was that I was constantly trying to wrangle my 17 boys and my one girl into some kind of organized chaos, and hopefully, you know, we learned, I think, some things that year. I know I learned a lot. I learned a lot about classroom management, in the fact that I learned I didn't really have any, and that I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And I think I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out what worked best for everybody, and then finding out that that wasn't going to work best for everyone. So I definitely had a behavior chart, and I definitely used it. I just don't know how effective it was with that group. And me as a first year teacher, just not feeling confident in my abilities to effectively manage a group of 17 boys and one girl. It was exhausting, but I know that they learned a lot, and I hope I learned a lot. I know that they learned a lot. I know that we had fun. I vividly remember singing and dancing with them on the carpet and reading stories together. But it kind of flew by in a haze. I think one thing I will always remember, and a tip I always give to new teachers, is to write everything down. Write down all the lesson plans that went well, all the lesson plans that did not go well, things that you notice about your behavior with a student, things that you notice about their behavior with you, and then try to reflect on that in the next year, over the summer. Find ways to change some of the things you did the year previous. I regret not writing things down as much my first year, because now, you know, looking back, I'd love to see how much I've grown and see how I've improved, and see some of the things that you know, kind of made me the teacher I am today, that I got to try out in my first year, and some of the things that I would never do again because they were just wrong. I know that in my first year, I taught at a Title I school, and that in itself has its own stressors and has its own wonderful experiences as well. But I think that in my head, after going to college to be a teacher and spending another year working on my master's, that I really wanted to work with this population of students. And you know, you think you have your head wrapped around what it will be, and it turns out to be a little bit different for, you know, a number of reasons. But I think one of the great things about my first year of teaching was that teaching in a Title I school, it definitely solidified that that's the kind of population of students I wanted to work with. It's the population of parents I wanted to be around. It's the population that I felt I could be most effective in. And so it was great my first year kind of figuring that out and realizing, like, okay, this is what this means, and I'm in it. Like, this is great, we can do this. For all the lows of teaching in a Title I school, there are a number of highs. And I think when you experience that experience your first year, you kind of just, you dig deep and you're like, this is it, let's go, let's do this, I'm all in. And I'm all in for these kids. And if I could go back, I would choose the same school. I would choose the same population all over again, because it's just been a wonderful experience teaching at a Title I school, especially for my formative years as a kindergarten teacher. I think the other thing I remember about my first year was that there were plenty of people around to help me. I don't know if that's what everyone experiences their first year. I hope it is, because as a first year teacher, you are swimming in a number of things you just don't know. And it is so helpful to have somebody who's like, I'm in this with you. I'm also in my first year and I'm drowning and we're gonna do this together. And if anything, we're just gonna keep our heads afloat together. Or a veteran teacher who's like, here are my lesson plans that I did the year before. Take what you need from them. Let me know what other questions you have. Just somebody who's like, I've got this, we've got this, it'll be okay, is such a load off. Because even if you never go to that person, you know that you could if you needed to. And just having that support system can really make for a wonderful year of teaching. You don't go into teaching just kind of hoping that you'll do your best. You go into teaching knowing that you're going to give it your all for these kids, and knowing that you've got support around you to help you do your best can really make you shine, really help the kids grow and learn. And it's essential, it is essential for new teachers to really have support from staff and administration that lets them know you're not in this alone. I've got your back, we're in this together. My first year of teaching, TPT wasn't around, so I was left to use the materials within my classroom and or supplement with any materials I found elsewhere. Do you remember those giant teacher books that were like this thick and we used maybe 1 or 2 pages from them? Yeah, I had like 17 of them because that's where I would spend my money. I was lucky enough to have actual materials and manipulatives for the kids. I didn't have resources or activities to help me feel confident in implementing some of the curriculum. And so I would have to create things on my own. I remember making tons of file folder games, which I'm sure I still have in the back of my classroom somewhere. I know that I bought tons of those books. Spent my summer making copies, coloring them in, laminating, cutting out, laminating, cutting out over and over and over again because I wanted my kids to have the best experience in my classroom. And so I spent a lot of time trying my hardest to create things that would give them a great experience. And looking back, if TPT had been around when I started teaching, oh my word, how different my experience would have been and how easy it would have been for me to just go into my computer and type, oh, I'm looking for this TEACS skill, and finding it online and being able to print it in color and then use an amazing home laminator. Oh, I would have been in heaven. And so new teachers, you are so fortunate to be able to just kind of have these resources at your fingertips instantly, either free or paid for, and you should definitely take use of the website and ask questions there. Ask the sellers on TPT, like, I'm a new teacher, I have questions about this, how could I use it here? Sellers are more than willing to help you because they want to do what's right for kids anywhere, even if they're not in their own classroom. I feel like one thing I didn't do enough of in my first year, or maybe I did and I totally forgot, but I didn't spend enough time with my colleagues outside of school. And I definitely had my head in the sand, kind of focused on the goal, worrying about my 17 boys, that I don't think I spent the time like inviting my colleagues to dinner or having them come over to my apartment and just, you know, having a wine and cheese night. Like, if I look back, I started that later. I wish I had started it earlier. Some of those teachers that I worked with are still some of my really best friends, and I wish I just had more time with them and more time to have developed those friendships and more time to have just hung out and talked about life and not talked about school, because I was just amazed at how loving and caring friendships I established just within, you know, the first 2 or 3 years of teaching at my school. I could have started it much earlier had I just been like, come up from air and just said, Lee, please go have a margarita with me. So if you're in your first year of teaching or second year of teaching and you have yet to ask your colleagues out to dinner, find a colleague that you really get along with and just go have dinner with them after school one day, or on the weekend go shopping with them. Just do something to start a friendship with the people you work with, because I cannot put a value on how much I love and appreciate those teachers who have been a godsend in my life. So that's another regret I have. I wish I could go back and have started a friendship with them on day one and not, day 183. I don't remember not being confident my first year of teaching, and I think that might sound a little cocky, but I think I walked in with I got this. I had a great student teaching experience in my master year of college. I spent 6 months actually taking over a classroom, as in it was my own classroom. So I think I had this I've done this before. I know what I'm doing, even though it was never fully my whole classroom from day one till day 185. But I think that, even if you have to fake the confidence until you've really felt grounded in your work, you've got to walk in there knowing what you're doing, feeling like you're ready to tackle it, and meet all your goals head on, even though it can seem overwhelming. I don't remember having any issues with parents, but I'm sure I was nervous every time I had to have a conference or every time I had to make a phone call. But you kind of power through it because that's what you have to do. And so you spend your time writing things down and I'm going to say this, I'm going to hit these points, and then I'm going to wrap it up with a big compliment. Talk yourself into it, and again, reach out to those other teachers who have been teaching for 5 years and kind of know the ropes and say what do I say to this parent? I have no idea what to say. Because going in with a little bit of confidence kind of ensures that your voice is really heard, and you kind of back up what you really do know you're talking about. What advice would you give to a first year teacher, someone who's starting for the very first time in their very own classroom this school year? What would you tell them? What hope can you give them? What warnings can you give them? Leave a comment below, and let's help them out, and let's give them some confidence. Let's let them know that they are supported. Let's let them know that they've got this, that yes, it's overwhelming, and yes, you're going to be exhausted, but those kids will love and appreciate the work you do with them. And here are some tips. So just leave some tips, leave some, words of encouragement for these teachers. And if you are a new teacher, brand new, getting your very own classroom for the first time, I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for choosing this profession that literally changes lives. Thank you for taking the time to learn and grow with these kids during this year. And if you ever have any questions, or you're worried, or you just need a moment to be reassured that you're doing the right thing, please feel free to email me, reach out to somebody, make friends. You have got this, and you can do this. So I hope you have a wonderful back to school, if you're going back to school, and a wonderful start of school, if this is your first year. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.